know it now. So 10:30, my Outlook just went off, so I shall shut that. But so welcome to Endpoint. Joined again by the lovely Rhonda, back from her break. So Josh did an excellent job of filling in for you last week, but just not the same.
No.
So let's rip into this. Today we're going to cover off modernizing endpoints. We're going to have a quick bit of news, and then Rhonda is going to jump in with the promos right at the end of that modernizing endpoint. But it's a bit of a joint session today, so she'll go through the ranges, and then prizes and Q&A. So let's leap into news. So Rob Crane, who's a MVP out of Australia, is going to be doing stuff on his favorite topic, which is the data center in the cloud, otherwise known as Azure or Azure, depending on what your pronunciation is. So there's going to be 4 sessions on that. You can click on there and register for those upcoming ones. So if you're a SPLA partner at the moment, you've got on-prem, and you're looking at a way of doing it more effectively, securely, and probably cheaper, when you sort of like do it over a particular time frame, then I really encourage you to jump onto those. So those are for Dicker partners, but I'm sure we can sneak you on if you're not a Dicker partner. Okay, this one popped up too. So we talked about the challenges in getting qualified people. Microsoft have taken the initiative, doing a program called 10K Wahine. I don't know why Paul Bolcott is up there as a woman at Microsoft, but he chaired those groups. So ACE Training running a free 1-day workshop on SC 900. I don't know whether that covers the whole SC 900 course, but worth jumping on. I don't think there is an exam voucher there, but if you click on the register now, you can register for it. And key is...
It's a really good course, actually.
The SC 900?
No, the 10K Wahine is a really good course.
Okay, so
Women in Technology, Paul. Yep.
Gotcha. And the Microsoft Security Summit, which we had last week, recordings are available of those. So on the blue piece at the top, we'll take you through to that site. So if you wanted some more deep dive into cloud security, identity and management, compliance and privacy, or threat intelligence, feel free to jump into those ones. What else have I got on news? Okay, this is the one that goes above my head, but we do have some partners that are really strong on the Defender for IoT. I don't know what malicious ladder logic is, but if you want to find out, feel free to jump into that one. The times are not going to be New Zealand friendly. I'm guessing just having a look at that. I haven't done a conversion across, but it may be another one of those 4 a.m.s. But register it, and generally these sessions are available as a recording, so you can watch it during normal hours. Phil's sessions, so if you don't already join these are partner sessions. Phil does a great job of doing basically Microsoft in 30 seconds, anything that's new that's coming up. So another webinar to sort of like jump on. You'll get some value out of these. All the recordings are there, all the sessions around licensing. So everybody's favorite topic around NCE, they cover off a lot of stuff on there. What else have we got? Well, that's all the news sort of like covered. And not on our slides, but Rhonda and I are off to do the red carpet at the Cairns Awards. No, it's the Reseller Awards. Yeah.
Reseller Awards.
I was looking forward to actually seeing the Monte Carlo Grand Prix this weekend, which is also relevant news. But Rhonda, so today we're going to cover across modernizing endpoints with Surface and Microsoft C365, particularly Business Premium, on how it all fits together and gives you a one solution to rule them all. So, Rhonda, you've got control.
You pretty much did my intro for me. Fantastic. Thanks, Paul. All right. Okay. I know. Excellent. Fantastic. All right. Well, he's already done the intro. So I'm going to quickly run through a little bit of the devices. I'm not going to go into specs or anything. because I know you're going to be familiar with them. So these are the two-in-one devices. So tablet with separate keyboard. They're light with great portability. Screen size and obviously spec does vary on each device. These are available in Wi-Fi and LTE and designed for businesses with staff on the go, like sales execs, relationship managers, merchandisers, and field operators.
And if you want the specs, you could click on the slide. I'll put the slide deck into that folder that's shared with everyone. So if you miss clicking on it, then you can go back to it. Sorry,
Absolutely, because it was a bit quick. But that's all right, definitely. Or you can go into Spotlight and Surface as well. We have all the specs and data sheets you have that you need in there. All right, so these are the traditional clamshell form factor devices. Now, once again, obviously, devices vary in spec and screen size, but these are fantastic performers. They are business laptops. The Laptop 4 is ideal for company directors, senior managers, and also the latest addition to the family, which is the Laptop Studio, is designed for engineers and architects, anyone who needs power and high-end graphics. Now, these devices are designed to use zero-touch deployment and autopilot, which is what we're going to go through today. Back to you, Paul.
Right, I shall grab the ball. So, as Rhonda mentioned, we're going to be talking about modernizing our endpoints, or PCs, laptops, surfaces, and why you should be looking at that. We went through a rush on devices 2 years ago for a particular reason that everybody needed to work from home, and we were basically forced into hybrid work, or working from home. Now it's become hybrid work, and I think all the businesses have realized that there is not a loss in productivity by getting people to work from home. Productivity actually goes up because people are working longer hours, and our employees are now demanding that we have flexibility. They also demanding that their IT at home, what you're providing to them, is going to work and work from day one. They don't like waiting for things to sort of like happen. We need something that we can just boot up, connect to our Wi-Fi, and away it goes. We're ready to work. We're ready to be productive, and it needs to be flexible, because often, now we're actually going out and having face-to-face meetings, even down to Waikato, down to Hamilton, and we need a device that we can connect reliably. We might have to do a on-point webinar from a cafe in Hamilton when Mike buys us coffees, or have him as a guest on the presentation. Also, it's a very competitive market out there for employees. So if you give them an old burnt out Lenovo, sorry, not to pick on Lenovo, but my demo machine, they're not, and somebody comes along and says, hey, look, same salary, same conditions, but you've got a modern device, you've got a really flash looking surface. It's like having a Gucci handbag. I think, Rhonda, not that I
absolutely, because I have Gucci everywhere.
Yeah. So, there's some interesting stats there. 50% of employees in the new environment are going to be remote or hybrid. And you see all the job vacancies come through. Work from where you like, work from home, work from one of our offices. The flexibility is being recognised there by employees, and Microsoft's the same, and Satya saying, hey, look, we're going to double everybody's salary, not mine, but because they're recognizing that the competitors are out there trying to poach people. The more that your customers can do for their employees to make it smoother and give them value for working for that organization, the better. 75% of business decision makers plan to increase investment in PCs. So that's quite surprising, because you think, man, everyone's got a new PC because they had to work from home. So there was that mad all rush. But because of supply constraints, a lot of people have got devices that aren't modern, that aren't really fit for purpose. There's a lot of compromises that they're having to make. So now that hybrid work is here to stay, people are starting to look at it again and saying, hey, we can be much more efficient and much more productive if we upgrade these machines and bring them into line. And the other factor there is going to be Windows 11, which is all about a secure OS and the TPM chip. So a lot of those machines that we shipped out 2 years ago won't be upgradable to Windows 11, which is now GA for enterprise. And there is a whole lot of stuff around quality and security, which we'll discuss a little bit later. How we work is more important than where we work. So everyone is looking for efficiencies and working smarter. You know, the ways that we actually schedule our time, you know, the days of 60-minute meetings that would take 45 minutes, we now schedule 45 minutes. And we often finish shorter than that, except for webinars when I'm talking, which tend to go overtime. So we need to be flexible. We talked about using LTE so we can connect anywhere. We're always on. We open our machine and the screens are there. We plug into our hybrid workspace in Dicker's new office in Parnell, which is doing its grand opening as we speak. And it recognizes the two monitors that are there and the hub, and it's set up the way that it was working the last time we set it up. When we go into our home environment or a CAF and we're on a single screen, everything works there. It connects to the right Wi-Fi, right printers, all those bits and pieces just to make it a lot easier for us. So how do we secure our devices for hybrid work? Remembering that people are connecting from anywhere. It could be a cafe, their home ISP provided router. How do we secure all those sort of things? What we're seeing, or what Microsoft is seeing, is a huge increase in attacks pre-boot. So what we've previously sort of like talked about with rootkits and those sort of things. How do we lock down the device so as soon as you hit that power button, we are in control of what is loaded? And there's an interesting why firmware defense matters. 2022, 70% of organizations that do not have a firmware upgrade plan in place will be breached due to a firmware vulnerability. And we've seen that. You know, the historical, the only numbers I could pull was up till 2020. But rest assured, there are still massive attacks against that, and we covered a little bit off on our vulnerability management. So how can we get around that? You know, you might say it's not my issue. I'm in IT. Start talking to your customers. Make sure that they are aware that a security breach is not going to just affect IT. It is not just you that are impacted. It's across the whole lot. So the board or the directors are going to be impacted. They have responsibilities around the data, and data being breached. You know, these are American numbers, so they're talking about performance on the stock exchanges. But the same thing goes, you know, if you're a New Zealand company, you're a SMB, a plumber, or even a lawn mowing organization, and you are breached, your personal details, your customers' personal details get out, it's going to have a huge impact, and it's not going to do much for your reputation. Your product development, pretty cool. We were talking about one of the big livestock improvements down Waikato. You know, they have a massive amount of IP. You need to protect that because there are nation state actors that are out there, particularly targeting those with IP. Kiwifruit is a great example. You know, Zespri and the safeguards they do around their operation. HR, so I wouldn't be happy, you know, if Rhonda had access to what I'm getting paid. She'd probably, well, I'd probably say, you know, she'd sort of like go, how come Paul's getting paid so little? But you know, that's just nice thinking. If we can't do our HR, and you know, if we start thinking about Dicker data, you know, that is our parking, our desk reservations, what days we're in the office, the whole shooting match, everything would fall apart if we had downtime on there. And legal, we can't forget compliance, and that's getting stricter and stricter. So if we look at our European friends, that's probably a model that is going to be adopted globally. Americans are a little bit slow on that. They'd rather sue. But from personal, my American Express card number has set off a whole lot of fraud alerts on the last couple of days. And blocking that, evidently I've been ordering $180 worth of pizzas down in Rotorua without the card. So someone has compromised that. I don't know how. I've done all the checks on my home machines. The only thing I can think of is I actually punched in that number to register a company, New Zealand Companies Registry. So hopefully it's not there. Okay, so why is Surface more secure? And that's basically because Microsoft control everything in the supply chain and the build for it. Microsoft write the firmware and have a whole lot of security pieces built into there that you're not going to find on anything else. So I've highlighted in there what is exclusive to Microsoft, but a lot of this is about interacting with the operating system, Windows, and also with productivity suites, the Microsoft 365 part of it, and Intune. So Intune, if you haven't delved into that, I think I've mentioned it numerous times, it is a game changer for all of us in MSP land, and it's something that we need to know. So to get some experience on it, I highly suggest that you go out and do some certifications or fire up your internal use rights and start enrolling some devices and having a go. The other thing that is a Microsoft-led initiative is something called a Plutron, which is being rolled out this year. I think Dell are first on it, but it is something that will be into the Surfaces as they come out. This is a way of controlling access to that firmware and also making that security upgradable, because we don't know what the vulnerabilities are until they're actually discovered by somebody. So this gives us a way of securely upgrading that pre-boot environment. It's across Intel, AMD, across all the silicon manufacturers. So it's a great security in silicon is basically what we're looking for. So one of the sort of unique things, the firmware configuration for Surface. So doing this through Intune, we are able to actually configure that device. So that can be things like, what Bluetooth connections is it allowed to make? What Wi-Fi is it allowed to connect to? Is the camera allowed to be on when it's connected to a particular Wi-Fi? So if you've got a high security environment, maybe you don't want cameras in that. And I think I've talked about the movie set out West Auckland, where they put stickers across the cameras on the laptops and mobile phones, security stickers, so they could see if the cameras had been used. If you're using a Surface device, then you can do that. Unfortunately, we don't have the Surface mobile device in New Zealand, although I'd love to get my hands on one. So what we're actually seeing, and these are stats that you can start talking to your customers when you're presenting Surface, is that there is a 20% reduction in security breaches just from using a Surface device. And that's before we start layering on all the security that comes with Business Premium with the Microsoft 365 suites. 17% reduction in endpoint security spend. So this really talks to when you're discussing the price of hardware or the device, don't be put off by the initial price that you sort of like to see. Sure, Rhonda can work her magic on that and do deals, but also look at what the customer is currently spending on their total cost of ownership across that device. How much is it actually costing that customer to do the deployment, to do the security when you've got all the bolt-ons? If we rolled it all into one solution, it's buying the combo package. There is going to be a reduction, and the stats say that it's 70% cheaper to go full hog Microsoft. And managing those devices. So once again, it's 17% plus the 14% or the combination of both. Let me just turn that off. Forgot to put that on silent. So watch. I'll kill that too.
That's right. You got 10 minutes, Paul.
Yep. Sorry. I'm just trying to kill those things. Okay. Modern endpoint deployment and management. So this is autopilot, something you've heard about. And we'll go through what the traditional way and what the advantage is. But as far as time saving, and if you think about this as a partner, you're also modernizing the way that you deploy these devices. So no longer is it bring it into the office and spend 24 hours setting it up for the customer. And now it's 10 minutes, and that's not your time. That's the customer when they connect it. So the traditional way was to build these gold images, where we had to grab all the drivers for that particular device. So if we had multiple manufacturers and devices in our environment, we had to get all the drivers that were particular to that particular brand. What settings are we going to have? What policies? What apps are we going to push out? Do we have a line of business app which is peculiar to us or only across certain people in our organization? So we'd have to build images for the accounting, for sales, for finance. Then we had to plug it in, deploy that image from the USB sticks. Once we'd found the USB sticks, connect it to the internet, do all the updates, and then rinse and repeat. And I remember doing this where we got a couple of students in, and they could do 5 machines at a time. We were rolling out 200 devices. It took us over a week to get all these devices set up, and then we had to tag those devices to make sure that what we'd set up on them went to the right people. Much better way of doing it is zero touch or autopilot. This is zero touch is a combination of autopilot and Intune, but more on that a little bit later. What we do is once we build a deployment profile, so we might have a number of deployment profiles for the accounting, for finance, but we only do it once. We don't need to go through and keep on updating those. If we're using a Surface, the drivers are included in the firmware for it, so we don't need to load drivers into there. But as soon as the machine boots up, all the settings are going to be down there, all our security policies, all the office apps, and also our line of business there for those particular departments. So we do it once, and then the rinse and repeat is no input from us. It's a huge cost saving. And we don't have to actually touch that device. We can ship the device directly from distribution, from our warehouse to that customer. So it gives you a whole lot of time to play Xbox. Obviously, Xbox, not PlayStation. So where do we manage all this? Endpoint Manager, which gives us that single glass of pane. It integrates everything from Intune, or if you're on-prem, Config Manager, and you can do a hybrid setup there. So if you're still, got some on-premise devices or applications running there, we can use Config Manager and do a hybrid setup. You could also use other endpoint management tools, but we're here to sell Microsoft, so use Intune. The other thing that's new on here is how do we have an inventory of all our flash new, high value, well sought after Surface devices? How do we track our warranties and everything on that? So you'll find now in Endpoint Manager a Surface servicing tab or Surface management portal. This allows the customer to basically self-service, working with your organization to sort of like request that they have an issue. You can also monitor performance on these devices, how much hard disk is left on them. Is there a issue with that particular device that's coming through? So let's have a look at that screen a little bit better, and you can see that it's divided and tells me how many devices of each type I've got across there. So I've got 185 Surface devices in my environment, and the support requests I've got on there, which I've closed or worked on or escalated up. I also have my warranty information all coming up in a single pane of glass, so I can see when the warranty is expiring, and do I need to basically refresh that device, or do I need to contact Rhonda and the team About a warranty issue. What is outstanding and what's happening with that device. I've got it all in one place. So how do I find this? Jump into Endpoint Manager. You'll need to go to All Services, and you can see the Service Management portal there. This is available for all devices, all Surface devices that you have enrolled. So you can see here that I have no Surface devices. That's just a little jab at our Surface Product Manager on getting my demo machine.
It's not on me.
Yeah,
It's
so
not me.
Surface and Windows Autopilot. So Autopilot is basically registering that device against its unique identifier, so a hardware hash or what we call a product ID, a PKI ID. Works perfectly and it's hassle-free for Surface. And we have this in our portal. What licensing you'll need is obviously Intune, because Autopilot is going to recognize it, but to do the deployment, that's where Intune kicks in. So what is included there, you'll need Azure Directory P1, which is included in Business Premium, and Intune. So all included in P1. If you don't have Business Premium, then you can get what's referred to as EMS, which includes the P1 and Intune to add on to your existing license. But I think you're much better served by going to a Business Premium combo. Also, you've got it across your enterprise licenses. So E3, E5, the frontline Worker 3, and the academic licenses. So this is something that we're seeing a lot of utilization and uptake in schools, because there is some really cool stuff you can do once you have those devices enrolled. So how do you go about it with Data? Here we have a little video, so hopefully it's playing for you. There is no sound, so I am going to talk to it. But you jump into the portal and you say, I'm going to buy this Surface device. Don't worry about the prices there. And this is great if you're doing a one-off. I would suggest that if you're doing more than one, talk to Rhonda, and she can come up with some better pricing for you.
Yes, please.
So we're just going to put in where our delivery is going to be. And this is a video of our Australian friend doing a autopilot setup for a Surface going to the office in Australia. So once we've done that, next, yeah, delivery address is going to be the same as the billing address. So Surface, yep, we're going to do that one. Would you like to use Autopilot? You go, yeah. Okay. Which tenant do you want to put it in? So obviously we want the CSP business, otherwise we don't have access to your tenant. And what this is going to do is copy that device ID directly into their Autopilot blade, and then, once it ships, it's shipping directly to them. Once they connect it to the Wi-Fi, it's going to recognize it, and then assign the policy that you have created and assigned to that device. So remember that Autopilot is really just the recognition of the device, and then it hands off to Autopilot. So Data isn't going to go through and set up the actual Intune policies and device configuration security for that customer. That's something that you've got to do. That's what you charge for. So rather than the 24 hours that you spent doing these gold images, you can still charge for it, but you have actually removed that cost out of your business. You're doing this once, you set up those profiles, device is registered, customer, end user receives that device by the courier, signs for it, plugs it in, connects to their Wi-Fi, says what the keyboard is, boom, she's go. So
Sorry,
summary.
Paul, Sorry. I'm just going to pop in very quickly. Okay, so with Autopilot, guys, it is fantastic we can do it on the portal. But like Paul said, it is a one-off scenario. If you are doing anything bigger than 5, I need to be involved with it, just so I can let the team know and I can make sure you have the correct pricing, because it's literally standard pricing on the portal. It won't have all the discounts associated with it. So yeah, if you're interested in it, just give me a call. Yeah, and I can walk you through exactly what I need to have. Cool.
Yeah,
thanks, Paul.
And just to clarify, when you say it's a one-off, it's a one-off. If you're ordering one-off Surface device, then do it through the portal. If you're doing multiple devices, but the Autopilot is multiple devices. If you ordered another one three weeks later, and it's going to the same customer, and they're going to have the same profile, you just assign
Absolutely.
that to that device when it shows up in your portal, and then you get the rinse and repeat. So some numbers there, and you probably will read them while we've been talking, so I'm not going to do that because I know we're up against time. Rhonda, you can jump in and
Cool.
do the promos that we've got running. So all that money we've saved you with Autopilot, we're going to save you some more.
There we are. Okay, so I know probably Josh went through this last week. It is our latest offer. It's still running. We've now extended it until the end of June, which is fantastic. It's great savings. It's 20% off every Pro 7 Plus device. And obviously not only that, you get in the draw to have the chance to win an e-scooter, one of 3 e-scooters. And obviously with petrol prices just going out of the stratosphere, it's a fantastic alternative to getting to work, I tell you. Cool. All right, so we still have stock of the Laptop Studio i5 16256. So we're going to keep this promo running as well. So yeah, if anyone's interested in any opportunities that you have, or even if you want to give Surface an option to your clients, drop me a line in the chat or email the team and we can definitely help, guys. Cool. Thanks, Paul.
Oh, back to me. Yeah, so we're seeing a slow and steady uptake on people selling Surface in the smaller businesses. Tier ones are obviously all across this stuff, and there is absolutely no reason why you can't be competing with those guys when it comes to Surface.
Absolutely, and I can help.
Yeah. So let's open up the market. Customers, get past customers coming to you and saying, I want this particular brand. Just say, hey, look, that's fine, but have you considered using Surface? Because these are the benefits that you are going to see from it, and it is a high-end device. It's the same as those ones that you've actually asked me to get for you. It's selling rather than just taking the order. Coming up next week, we're going to cover off quickly some stuff around GDAP. And that reminds me, it's also the subject of my blog in the Dicker newsletter this week. So that has some far-reaching impact on how you service your customers, or may have. So make sure you're across that, and then we're going to throw across to Microsoft to talk about Dynamics 365, Business Central, and Power Platform, which are opening up and becoming a lot more accessible to partners that aren't the traditional specialists in Dynamics. So prize draw, I've got the link there for the Neural Impact Expression of Interest. So once again, click on that if you haven't already done so, bookmark it, fill out the form, and we'll look forward to getting you onto that to help develop your business. And if you want to know what Rhonda and I have put on our blogs for the next month, subscribe to the newsletter there. Rhonda, do we have a couple of names?
We do. Okay, so Sarah McMurray and Lyndon Batty, 2 winners for today.
Perfect. Okay, apologies for going 3 minutes over, but if those winners could click on that OnPoint or send an email to onpoint@dickerdata.co.nz with the delivery address, and we'll get those aprons and coffee mugs out to you. So thank you all for the huge amount of applause there. Any closing remarks, Rhonda?
Just, and I know Abdul's put this in the chat, but I am here to help you guys. I am here to support you. So if you need more information, if you want to have a look at demo devices, I've actually got a small